BoogardMG. Haven't subscribed to him, subscribe to him on YouTube. Let's see it. Tekken character who vanished. Why no one plays Leroy?
Smith.
I play Leroy. We'll find out what happened.
Being by far the most popular character in competitive play, to being left at the wayside here in Tekken 8. It seems like no one cares about this character anymore.
I play Leroy.
But why is that? How has this character seen such a steep decline in Tekken 8? I wanted to get to the bottom of it, and after extensive research,
scrolling on Twitter,
machine gun punches, I think I figured it out. So let's start from the beginning. Leroy was first released in winter of 2019 as a DLC character for Tekken 7. Before releasing, he was initially very positively received, with many people claiming he was one of the coolest newcomer designs we had ever seen in Tekken. Unfortunately, that didn't last long, as it took less than 3 days for people to discover just how broken this character was. He
basically a boss character.
Being considered the best character by a significant margin, and also one of the easiest in the game. And if we've learned anything from modern day fighting games,
so
and super easy to play,
he used to be Victor.
Don't go down well for the state of competitive play. A mere month after his release, EVO Japan 2020 took place. With
sometimes
top 8 players all picked.
What's up, Cool Maker? How are you?
Trashed his reputation. People hated this guy. Even after his emergency nerf post EVO, Leroy was nerfed many times throughout the life of Tekken 7, eventually being seen as a solid high tier at the end of the game.
Okay.
Eventually, these nerfs affected the popularity of the character, but not nearly as much as you would think. He remained in the top 10 of most played characters through to the end of the game. And
fair enough.
All was looking bright for him coming into Tekken 8.
He does that every time.
He didn't. The first set of data we got after Tekken 8's release featured Leroy as the 4th least played character in the game. This might have been one of the biggest popularity drops between games.
I actually just faced a Leroy today.
Just a fluke.
Funny enough.
Further sets of data in the next few months confirmed it. Leroy was largely dead. No one was playing this guy. And why was that? The community came to a general consensus that it was because he was trash. Leroy was considered one of, if not the worst character for the first few months of Tekken 8.
I played it earlier today, man.
Representation in competitive play. Everyone took turns trashing on him, and he was more or less forgotten. Just another bottom tier that isn't worth the time. I mean, why would anyone play him? Right?
I was just testing something.
Many discussions on whether Leroy had any character loyalists, with people saying he was only played in Tekken 7 because he was broken. Despite the fact that even after
I found out how to do that move, by the way.
This never
with them on the ground.
If his whole player base was full of tier pickers who only played him for free wins, why did so many stick around even after the nerfs? There were plenty of other far more broken characters at the time who were also easy to play, but they stuck with him. Believe it or not, I was actually planning on making this video months ago, and was only stopped because of that fateful day that changed everything. Judgment Day. Patch 1.04, launching on the 7th of May, gave Leroy the many buffs he needed. It fixed almost every problem he had had up to that point, with some people even initially claiming these changes now made him S tier. I decided to wait on making this video and see if these buffs would ignite a spark in the Leroy or tier picking community, and he would suddenly rise up in the popularity charts. So did that happen?
No.
Well, you wouldn't be watching this video if it did. These buffs did nothing. We've since seen a small bit of fluctuation in his placements on the popularity chart over the past few months, usually going up 1 or 2 more spots and then promptly dropping back down. This confirmed my theory that it really had nothing to do with people not playing him because he was weak. It was something else entirely. So here we are, finally caught up to the present. And to answer the question of why no one plays Leroy in Tekken 8, it's because he's boring. Let me explain.
He ain't boring. What do you mean?
The Wing Chun fighter. Basically the machine gun punch Ip Man guy. And I truly don't believe this on its own is an interesting enough concept to invoke a large player base long term. Initially, with his release, it was something new for Tekken, I'll explain those quotation marks later, and that, along with his very cool physical appearance and his reputation for being broken and destroying the game, carried his play rates even after his nerfs. It takes a while for things to settle and hype to die down in fighting games, but eventually it did, and the Leroy we were left with in Tekken 8 just didn't have enough to be popular. Sorry to quickly interrupt this video, but if you guys are enjoying this and want to support more Tekken 8 scripted video essays like this, please consider subscribing to the channel. It's free to do, and it only takes like 2 seconds of your time.
Subscribe to Boogard.
But the YouTube algorithm can be really scary and unpredictable, so it goes a long way at helping me towards my dreams of hopefully one day doing this as a job. Thank you so much, and let's get
He doesn't do this as a job already? I feel like he would.
There. He looks as awesome as ever. But besides that, he, like many others, had basically nothing to do in the story mode of this game, giving newcomers no incentive to want to try him, along with pretty much no one talking about him. This stuff aside, if you ask me, the biggest problem is his moveset and playstyle. I don't believe he has a strong enough gameplay identity in this game compared to basically anyone else. He tends to just blend in with the rest of the roster, and doesn't really stand out on his own. With Tekken 8, the team made a clear effort to make lots of characters more flashy than ever before, and we can clearly see that with almost all of the most popular characters. A great example is Yoshimitsu, who went from
Yoshimitsu looks dope in this one, bro.
Simply due to how cool he is and how much of a great job they did modernizing him. Leroy did not get this treatment. He feels slow and clunky to play with, while also having, in my opinion, one of the most boring and forgettable heat smashes and rage arts in the game. They just didn't do enough to make him feel modern and new here. He's really just Leroy from Tekken 7. Now, what I'm about to say is, again,
I mean, that's not
my opinion, but
completely incorrect.
His biggest problem is that being the Wing Chun guy just isn't very interesting. At least not interesting enough for him to be popular in a fighting game. Wow, he punches a lot very quickly.
I mean, yes,
if
true.
There weren't tons of other characters who punch a lot quickly. It just doesn't stand out a lot in a game full of very unique fighting styles with very flashy animations and moves. He also has a lot of parries, and maybe I'm in the minority here, but I can't imagine something more boring and uninteresting than a character who's built around parries. Does anyone think parries are cool? Leroy just struggles to stand on his own 2 feet in this game in terms of identity. Sure, he has the cane. The cane is cool, I'll give you that, but it doesn't have nearly enough of an impact on his gameplay.
Yeah, and you can only use it once per match, bro. That sucks.
I feel so bad for Leroy because he really was given the short end of the stick here. He feels like one of the most forgotten characters in the game, by far, and I truly believe it's his gameplay that's the main problem. I played a lot of Leroy for this video, and I can't underestimate how boring I found him to be. His hermit stance feels incredibly slow and clunky.
It does feel slow. I won't
just didn't
lie about that one. It feels very slow.
Feels boring. I will admit, there is fun to be had with the character. Since the patch, his new sidestep 1+2 move has made him a lot stronger, and there is something fun about going into heat and just pressuring your opponent with 1,000,000+ frames while doing like 50% of their health and chip damage.
I mean, that is good, yeah.
Just not cool enough to make me want to play him over basically any other character in the game. And that's why I think no one is playing Leroy in Tekken 8. I've thought about a potential solution to this, but have honestly been really struggling to come up with anything. Unless they decide to give him a full rework and make him fight with his cane or something, but that obviously wouldn't fit the character at all.
Yeah, no, not at all.
Leroy is unfortunately cursed to remain at the bottom of the player rates for the life of Tekken 8. Unless he somehow gets mega buffed again, and then we repeat the whole Tekken 7 cycle. Please, God, no. And it's a shame because I really want Leroy to succeed. Like I said earlier, I think his design is super cool and I would love to enjoy playing this character more. I'd also love to see him at tournaments sometime, but unfortunately it's just not the way things are working in this game. I think Leroy should be a case study for game developers that shows just because a character is new doesn't automatically give them permanent staying power. Any character can fall in popularity, so it's very important to constantly be trying to innovate and make each character feel unique and different between games, even if they're a Shoto or Mishima. Keep it fresh. But yeah, that's about all I've got for this video. Let me know what you think about Leroy in the comments, and if you agree or disagree with.
I mean, I agree, but at the same time,
character you want to see me talk about next. I'll be down there chatting with you guys as always. I want to give a big thanks to everyone who made it this far in the video, and an even bigger thanks to my YouTube members and Patreon patrons. Thank you guys so much. Your support means the world to me and helps me keep doing this. If you guys enjoyed, make sure to like and subscribe to support the channel, and I'll see you guys later.
So, like I was saying, I agree with everything that he said, but at the same time, I like using him. I have felt that he's been slower, and I am trying to deal with it. So, I mean, maybe I will just figure that out. But yeah, I agree with nobody playing Leroy. It's kind of upsetting. I only face one Leroy every once in a while in Tekken 8 now.